Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu tweeted his congratulations to both king and country earlier today, marking this occasion. Well, for more, let's go now to its capital, Manama, where we are joined by political analyst Yusuf Mubarak and also by Rabbi Mark Schneier, a senior advisor to King Hamad and the co-author of the recently published book, Sons of Abraham. And gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Yusuf, maybe just start out by telling us a little about the significance of National Day.
Good evening to you and a belated happy Hanukkah. 16th of December is a celebration of the social pact between citizen and ruler. And let me call upon one example from history. The late Sheikh Isa bin Salman al-Khalifa, God rest his soul, intervened personally after the Six-Day War to make sure that there is an initiative from the ruler, a personal initiative, to rebuild the only synagogue after the mobs taken by the defeat of Egypt back then decided that this was a symbol that should have been dismantled. And it was since then under lock and key until recently. And hopefully it will reopen to observe all the holy occasions that people of the Jewish faith observe. Also, there is an urban myth that was confirmed to me back in the day by this account that I just mentioned was in an interview by Al Majalla magazine several years ago with the late Venerable Dawood Reuben, a prominent businessman in Bahrain and a member of the several Jewish families that we share our country and our neighborhoods with. One urban myth, it's hearsay to some, but it has been confirmed to me by someone who works in a charity. That very person, God rest his soul, Dawood Reuben, is a dealer in home appliances and electrical appliances, and he donated a number of these vital air conditioning units and water coolers to a mosque that was being built. So he did that in a time when Muslim merchants were deciding to give a discount. So this is the social pact that we are celebrating. Interfaith coexistence and a rulership that supports tolerance.
Right.
This
now,
is the significance of the National Day.
Right. Now, Rabbi Schneier, actually talking about the synagogue in Bahrain there, as Yusuf did, it pays a transition to my next question to you, because while you're there, I presume, to celebrate National Day, you are also announcing an initiative. We discussed about Israelis traveling to the Gulf, and I'm certain as soon as all the issues are worked out, there are going to be plenty of Israelis going to Bahrain. You're working on an initiative on bringing a different type of tourism to Bahrain, but that is also certainly a result of the Abraham Accords.
There's no question, but it is directly a result of a request that His Majesty the King of Bahrain made of me 3 years ago in terms of creating an initiative that would bring American Jews to the King of Bahrain to expose them to its indigenous Jewish community. And I might add that the synagogue is now under refurbishment, should be rededicated in the coming months as a daily functioning synagogue. And as I explained to the Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, my dear friend Zaid al-Zayani, who was in Jerusalem last week, that when it comes to Jewish tourism, the grand prize is the American Jewish community, not the Israeli community. The American Jewish community, American Jewish travel, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Many American Jews travel to destinations in order to not only vacation, but to look for economic opportunities, So we are focusing on promoting this American Jewish travel, not only to the Kingdom of Bahrain, but throughout the Gulf as well. That will lead to the building of a Jewish infrastructure, whether it's the refurnishing of the synagogue, the opening of kosher restaurants, kosher kitchens in different hotels. It's a win-win for the kingdom and for Jews around the world.
Well, certainly that you could almost see sort of package deals being arranged, combining trips to the Gulf and Israel, something would have been unthinkable, of course, just a few months ago. Yusuf, I do want to move a little bit to politics. We do have a change of administration coming in Washington. Of course, that piece in that agreement between Bahrain and Israel was the result of the Trump administration, some of these other agreements. There may be yet more to come. What is the feeling there about Bahrain, about the fact that we're going to see this change over to a Biden administration? Is there some nervousness, concern, or is there a feeling that there will be a continuity of what we've seen with both the Trump administration and the incoming White House staff?
The concern is Iran, not Israel. The two governments and the two peoples are more civilized and more able to carry on with their own business away from any other umbrella or the after effects of a change in administration. So the main consideration here is what the reaction from governments like Iran and non-state actors that have used the Palestinian issue as a means of legitimacy for their causes, ill causes, if I may.
Right, concern over what the U.S. policy will be towards Iran. Now, Rabbi Schneier, we've discussed this. You, of course, even on my program, predicted that we would see these diplomatic breakthroughs, including with Bahrain in the Gulf. And now we have about a little over a month left. Is there still time enough, you think, for another diplomatic breakthrough? And how confident are you as we get in the Biden administration, which may have different priorities than the Trump administration, this sort of string of diplomatic advances between Israel and Arab and Muslim nations will continue?
I don't believe you're going to see anything happening until President Biden is inaugurated on January 22nd. I, for one, I am thrilled with the election of Joe Biden as President of the United States. And in relation to the Abraham Accord, the irony is that Joe Biden is more in line with the other 4 Gulf states that have not joined the Accord than Donald Trump, if you listen carefully to the Saudi position, to the Qatari position, on the normalization of ties with Israel, addressing the Palestinian plight is a condition for them to establish relations with Israel. Joe Biden has made it very clear that he's going to build on the success of the Abraham Accords. At the same time, he does have a commitment to addressing the plight of the Palestinian people. So if anything, Joe Biden is more in concert with the remaining Gulf states than Donald Trump has been.
Right. Now, Yusuf, I want to get back a bit to tourism because we've already seen a stream. We've saw one day this week 30 flights between Israel and the UAE. Now, of course, a place like Abu Dhabi and certainly Dubai handle that kind of tourist traffic from around the world. What about with Bahrain? Is Bahrain ready to receive the stream of tourists, be it from Israel or be it the American Jewish community, as Rabbi Schneier is trying to initiate?
Infrastructure-wise, I'm not worried that much. It is capable of handling the seasonal influx of tourists. Health-wise, let's wait for the vaccinations. I, for one, am contemplating whether I should wait for a more solid option or shall I just sign up for the current initiative of voluntary vaccination, which I might go for just to speed up normalization in daily life. That and, of course, let's see what happens when it comes to regional security. This is, again, significant when it comes to the 20th of January and the swearing in of President Biden. from now until that day, what would happen regionally security-wise? I mean, it probably won't happen in Bahrain, but it might happen within the vicinity of Bahrain in the Gulf waters, similar to what has happened last year, targeting oil tankers, some skirmishes in the waters. So let's wait and see.
Right.
I mean, we share the same coastline as the UAE.
Right, and certainly there have been those incidents, one recently. And lastly, Rabbi Schneier, I just want to relate to report a story we covered yesterday, talk about an emissary perhaps, or an advisor connected with the Prime Minister of Pakistan may have come to Israel. That's unconfirmed, I'm stressing, but we spoke to one analyst who said, in part, this is because of the pressure or encouragement of the Gulf states, of Saudi Arabia, particularly the UAE, to Pakistan to try to open ties. How much of an impact do you see of this sort of Gulf effect on other countries to open ties with Israel? If you could keep it brief.
It's the Gulf effect. It's the Muslim-Jewish effect. I just returned from Dubai. I witnessed a love fest between Emiratis and Israelis, and I think that the roots of this reconciliation is the fact that there are no two other faith communities that have more in common than Muslims and Jews. We are family, we are reconnecting, we have our shared values and our common faith. And I think that is why you're seeing this natural.
Okay, we'll have to end it. That's a nice note to end there. Happy National Day, of course, to Bahrain and Rabbi Mark Schneier, Yusuf Mubarak. Thanks for joining us on